Welcome to another episode of the Big Home Ed Conversations. My name is Kelly, and I'm here as usual with my lovely friend Ashley. And we are going to be talking to you today about how we follow our kids' lead. This is a lovely, light episode. There's no school bashing in this one, I promise. We're going to be talking about our experience of kind of really starting to understand home education and actually how like it was just such a massive shift in terms of deschooling, absolutely, but recognizing that actually it's actually not that easy to just follow your kids' lead, to just trust them, to follow like to show you what they would want to learn and where they want to go. But once you actually start to recognize the amazing strength that they have in being able to do that, it's actually really quite good fun, isn't it, Ashley? I think it's something which you
Yeah,
can really start to see them come alive when you let them follow their own interests.
yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really lovely to be able to afford them the time to stick with something. So sometimes you get going and you need more than the 30 minutes you might have initially allotted because they really get into it. So it's fun to be able to let them continue with the creativity.
Yeah, it is really fun, isn't it, when you can see them kind of going off on a tangent, sometimes for weeks or months at a time. It's so much fun. But I mean, it leads me quite nicely into my little happy news that I've got going at the minute. So it's my turn to share
Mhm.
our fun for the week. So I relatively impulsively went and got a puppy last week. Not a literal impulse purchase. I've wanted one for about 3 years. A miniature Dachshund that I cannot say it for the life of me. Dachshund. It's a German word, and I really cannot seem to get my tongue around it. Anyway, he is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And me and Ashley have obviously both been talking about trying to get one at the same time, and I have no patience, so she has to just put up the fact that I'm getting him early so she can enjoy it for a bit. Um, he, it's been really lovely because I that's actually kind of something which I've been working on with the kids is we've been learning about dogs for the past few weeks. So we've been watching like documentaries on Disney, for example, where they've got about kind of different dogs breeds and like why they're the different shapes they are and like what they were bred for. Um, and we were learning about how you actually take care of a puppy and going to like pets at home and just wandering around the aisles and just looking at all the puppy stuff and talking about what they are and why they're there and why puppies need them and all that sort of thing. And it's been such a fun sort of project to be working on. Um, but I've been literally watching them today, kind of doing their little training with him and oh, my son was hilarious. He had a dog chase him not that long ago, like a puppy Labrador that was big. And he was totally playing. Like he was just like my son was chasing him, and then the tables just turned and the dog started chasing him back. And it freaked him out. It really upset him and he got really scared. And sadly took me a moment to realize that he genuinely was actually scared, like he was just playing.
Oh,
So it took me a second to obviously just like get in between them and stop it. But it led to some really great conversations around like body language and recognizing when a dog is playing versus when it's angry and actually dangerous. Um, and obviously don't run away from a dog that is chasing you. Don't want to chase you and stop making yourself chase worthy. It was really, really fun to watch him like race around our deck out the back of the house with this dog just chasing after him. He's so small. He's still squealing like it's going to like babe him or something. But he was really having fun today. Like he was just really enjoying being chased, and it's just
good.
so lovely watching them really come alive. Like they're really lit up by the experience and jealous as hell of like the attention the dog is getting as well, which is really quite funny. I wasn't quite expecting the level of jealous experience
Oh
this week.
yeah.
Um,
Oh
it's
yeah.
amazing. It's like just having another baby in the house because I'm just like, little baby boy, and I just like all of my attention has gone straight to him. And they're like, excuse me,
We are your
beaver
children.
babies. Yeah, please pay attention to us. But yeah, I think what's been really lovely is obviously with the inspiration of knowing that we were going to get a puppy, it's just created this really fun environment where they've obviously shown an interest in something and were really excited to have it and really wanted to make sure we could get one. And so they were willing to do absolutely anything to actually have one. And then
Yeah.
since getting him, they've wanted to obviously stop him from biting their fingers and like not try and grab their clothes and not try and grab their toys, and they're having to learn really fast. And especially my youngest, I've been really amazed by how quickly she is picking up that she can't leave her favorite doll on the floor right now. And if she does make a puzzle on the floor, she needs to put it away quick before the puppy pees on it. Thankfully, this has not happened yet, but it was close. And I keep saying to her, like, you've just really got to be mindful of using the table or putting things up high when you're done. Like, don't leave them out because they're going to get ruined, and it's made my living room much tidier. Um, but it's just really fun watching them picking up new skills and awarenesses of how to take care of an animal and how to be conscious of needs. That it's really fun when you watch them kind of get into these, like we call it project learning. So I mean, I tend to consider it our topic. So this is currently what we are using as our, it's kind of like our trampoline, I guess, to like just jump off and to keep that kind of just keeps kind of giving us another little boost into something else. And so like we'll keep doing loads of different avenues into learning about it for a while until we all get bored and then we'll just move on. Um, yeah, it doesn't have any fixed ending. It just kind of fizzles out when the interest dies. And sometimes we can go on for months with a topic that is working, that they're enjoying. And you were saying before we got on that yours were just always into animals and that always makes you really happy.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where, just like you were saying, we'll follow a topic for a really long time and then it fizzles out because something else has trumped it, a new interest. And it's so funny because I keep trying to weave like my desired topic or interest into it. Like I want to do something about something that's happening in current events, or um thinking right now about the upcoming presidential election in the States, and I have a lot of ideas for that. And I want to sort of base a lot of our reading and just kind of overall conversations around different things like the geography of the United States, where all the states are located, and how the voting works, and all of this stuff. And I know it is going to be a bit of a challenge because they just only want to learn through the vein of animals, particularly horses. We're very interested also in snakes and insects. And so, even for things like math, we're doing like multiplication around, well, if you had 7 horses and they all ate 4 pounds of hay,
Yeah.
how many pounds of hay would you need? I
Yeah.
think things like that. So, it's one of those things where, I've said this before, we do have some kind of more formal, I would call it, curriculum that we do follow when it comes to math and language arts. But I, at every moment that I possibly can, will swap something or try to create an opportunity for us to weave it into what they're interested in, because they really then do get excited about doing things. And particularly if we're able to paint or color or use clay to kind of help bring in any of those sort of like hands-on opportunities, that definitely does buy me some more time on, say, like reading a book that's maybe not about our topic. I'll be like, okay, here's some clay, create a horse while I read you about, like, I know in the future this is going to be about the upcoming election and kind of what
Yeah.
that means and why it's important. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm constantly looking for those opportunities to kind of pop in something they're interested about, but still somehow bring it back to me and what I'm trying to, direct our cruise, if you will. But we're doing it together.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, isn't it? How not only can you use kind of their current interests themselves to just occupy them and keep them busy whilst you obviously try and bring other topics in, but also to help you actually develop an understanding of those topics. So like my head then was going, well, I wonder if like you could take it back to like the founding of the states and where did they get their horses from and what kind of horses did they find back then? And then
100%.
like why is it
100%.
that people loved horses? And like, my brain loves to do this anyway, like just like ask a question on top of a question
Yes.
on top of a question, and all of a sudden we've gone on a massive tangent. I mean, this is like every conversation I ever end up in. But that just made me go, oh, it's so interesting because I wonder how many presidents used to ride horses and like
Yes.
did like why do they ride horses? Why is it considered to be so noble? Like what's that all about? And like it's
Hmm.
interesting, isn't it? Like maybe the topics do blend always. I think we were
Yes.
talking once about dogs or something, and you said about kind of different dogs in different regions of the entire world, and like actually you can talk about geography, and also
Yes.
like the climates and the kind of terrain and the kind of
Yeah.
animals they might have encountered and the uses they would have had for them and the kinds of farming they would have done. And you know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
all of these
Yeah.
things are connected to dogs. Also, it's like if
Yes.
they're interested in something, it's so much fun, like connecting the dots to something else that you maybe want to inspire them to think about. Because I think one of the things which I always think is a bit of a myth about unschooling is this concept that you genuinely just leave your kids to just do whatever they want and you
Right.
never kind of give them any kind of direction. And yes, I get that the idea of it isn't to constantly force specific curriculum or whatever onto them, like to make them do a certain thing. However, it is our job to inspire them. And we don't know what we don't know. We don't
Yeah.
see what we don't see. I mean, there's bazillions of things that I have only seen because I've happened to just come across an article, or I've happened to read a book, or I've happened to talk to a person, and these thoughts then just get planted in my brain. I go, oh, that's interesting, and I want to go learn more about that. I don't want to know to go
Mhm.
even looking for it unless they know it exists. And I think that's one of the things which I think people do think that unschooling is actually like really hands off, and you're never actually helping your kids, but it's kind of the complete opposite. As you sort of say that you follow kind of some curriculum and some structure, but I think we're very similar in the sense that we both want to inspire them to think about other things, to just be aware of other stuff that's going on
Yeah.
in the world, and especially current events, because especially like with obviously the loss of like abortion rights and stuff like that is super important, especially having
Hmm.
three girls, like to really
Yeah.
empower them
Absolutely.
to understand politics and to know what to do, to how to actually fight back against this stuff. And it's really empowering when you put some effort into doing that. And you see an outcome actually come your way. Like you actually see things change, and that's amazing to watch. So yeah, I just think it's really
Yeah.
important, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. And I think it's something that is actually, I can understand if you're listening to this and you're new to home ed, you might be like, okay, that is a lot of work. But it actually really does
Sounds
happen
like a
quite
lot of work.
naturally, and you can start pretty slow. So, for example, like I was talking to the girls about how we're going to learn about like the map of the United States. And the first thing my oldest said to me was, "Can we make a map about where all the animals are?" And
Mhm,
I said, "Yeah, that we can definitely do that. We can definitely take a map of the United States and we can like do what their state animal is or state bird or state flower. And that would be really fun and something that they're, a lot more interested in than just like, this is Alabama and this is
mhm,
North Carolina, right? So that is a really easy thing to tailor. But if your kid is into like cars, well, you can see, okay, where are cars made in the United States? What state are they made in? What
mhm,
state sells the most cars? What
mhm,
state sells the most Corvettes or Jeeps or whatever? And you could even blend that into machinery. So where are more diggers or
mhm.
forklifts or whatever. So you can really easily, especially with the internet now, right? I imagine, 15, 20 years ago, this might have been a lot harder to do, really going through that encyclopedia. But now this information is so easily available. And then
Yeah.
you're also teaching them how to search for things on the internet. So you can do
Mhm,
that with them, right? How do we do that? Now we're typing, now we're spelling, now we're finding where the letters are on a keyboard. So all of
mhm,
these things can be really easily done
mhm.
and spill into a lot of different themes and topics and subjects, which is something that, again, just sort of happens naturally as you look for it.
Yeah, one of my biggest hacks actually for this is if you use something like ChatGPT, if you're
Yeah.
sat there thinking, we've done nothing today, I literally don't even know, like, what have they even learned? Like,
Hmm.
I haven't done anything formal. I haven't sat them down and done anything focused. Like we've been so busy. We've done this errand and this and that, this and this and this. So like I'll give you a quick rundown of my day, right? This is what ChatGPT is amazing for, is you kind of plug in. So for example, so we went and visited the neighbours with Poppy in hand, just because to let him get a bit of fresh air. He's not allowed to go proper walks yet. And we went and collected a stud finder from a neighbour because we needed to install these like aerial silk things for like as a swing slash climby whatever thing for the kids to do downstairs. I'm on a mission to add more sensory play into my house so they can get
I
their
love
wiggles out.
that.
So we've gone to a
Yeah.
neighbour, we've socialised, we've chatted to a neighbour, we've gotten to know somebody new, we've showed off the new puppy, they told them all about him. We got the stud finder, he showed them how it worked. We took it home. We've used the stud finder to find the studs in the roof and the ceiling, so the room, so that we could drill the holes. They watched their dad do the installation of it. We had to experiment for ages in terms of getting the height of it right because it kept stretching so far they were sitting on the ground. So we had to figure out how high it needed to go for it to work and for them to still be able to reach it. Like, so you can actually go through all these things, and so it's just one
Yeah.
activity. And you can see when you actually start to break it down. If you said to ChatGPT, we went and got a stud finder from a neighbor and we did this. And you're really genuinely sat there going, this is like, I don't even know what we've done today. Like, it's incredible. It's an amount of information in that. Like, what's the stud finder doing? How can it detect electric and metal and wood? Like, how is it doing that?
Yeah.
And like all these different questions that came from it, and watching him use a drill, watching him screw the stuff in, like adjusting the height. Like these are all things that allow them to build practical, relevant, important information about how the world works, physics, science, measurement.
Yeah.
Like there's so much to that. And we don't always see it in the like when you think like, yes, okay, you sit your kid down, you get them to fill out a whole page worth of sums, and you get some evidence at the end of it that they have actively done some maths and they have understood or not the task at hand, and you can put it in a folder and it feels really accomplished. It feels like, okay,
Yeah.
good, check. We've definitely done
Yeah.
some addition. Yeah, it feels really good. And I get that that feels good because it's satisfying to our schooly brain, the one that's desperately trying to quantify their education and to know what they're achieving, where they're at, what level they are. Like, are they
Hmm.
the same as other kids who might be in school the same age? Are they going to be great one day? Are they ahead? Are they behind? All that nonsense. Like these questions come into my head, and like again,
Of
ahead and
course.
behind is not
Yeah.
something I subscribe to, obviously, because it's just such a I don't know, arbitrary line, and I don't really get it. But the point is that it's really good fun when you look at these things. You think, okay, fair enough. They haven't written it all down, and they probably would forget half of what we talked about today in a heartbeat. But actually, a tiny grain of information, a few tiny grains, hopefully, will have come from that. And then another day we'll do another thing. And then another day we'll do another thing. And these things will slowly but surely form into a full and comprehensive understanding of the world around them. It will spark ideas. It will build curiosity. I mean, people like Albert Einstein and Isaac Newton and all these incredible scientists and inventors and like
Yeah.
people who had like puzzled ideas and came up with incredible concepts that we like go, wow, that is so smart. How do they get there? They got there because they puzzled on something themselves. They were self-motivated and have had
Yeah.
various different inspirations that have just sparked a thought and then they follow it. And I think that's all we're really there to do is to actually give our children as many opportunities to spark a thought. Um, and I always say, like back in the early days, so this is something which always made me smile. People would kind of go, you'd walk around somewhere like Bird World, and you'd see parents ignoring their kids' questions. They'd be like, Mum, what's that? Like, why is it got that in its cage? Or like, what's it doing? Like, why is it doing that? And I don't know. And I'd be like, just come on, let's go and look at the flamingos. And there was a moment when there was this kid, literally cage after cage after cage, kind of walking around the sort of same bit as us. And the parents literally did that every time. I was like, I don't know, kid. Like, just whatever. They're like, can you read this to me? Can you read me what it says? And they're like, no, like, come on, like, just carry on. I get it. We're bad days. I'm not judging. I found myself just being like, oh my God. And I literally stood and I read the sign out loud to my son, in earshot, so loudly enough for this kid to hear
Yeah.
it. And then they were like, oh, that's really interesting. And they started asking me questions and I'm happy to answer them. Um, What's it do? one of the biggest things about home ed, and it does take a bit of effort, but when they ask a question, you answer it. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
In the moment, as they're having the thought, you help them, either you answer it if you know the answer, or you go, oh, it's interesting. And you go look it up and you figure it out. You help
Yeah.
them look it up, whatever you need to do, as much as humanly possible. Again, we can't always do it. Like, we might be literally driving a car, but we can just do our best. And I think this is one of the things that I think is just fun because every time their brain is asking a question, it's currently puzzling something and it
Yeah.
wants to know. And so if you can keep sparking that curiosity by feeding it, then it only leads to more questions. It only leads to progress. And I think that's amazing. I just love watching it. It's so much fun.
Yeah, and this is one of the things where I don't know about you, but my like questions like this come always at bedtime. And I'm like, I am not diving into a 25-minute explanation of how we breathe at 8:45. But what I will do is I have a note on my phone that is just like our questions, and we will come back to it the next day. And this is good for like if you happen to be somewhere or you're a little bit busy at the moment and you can't answer the question, or like sometimes you're out and this is one of the ones like maybe I don't know the answer. And so we do have to go home and look it up, but I'm not looking it up in the middle of Morrison's. So that's one of the things where I'll put it on my note and we will go back and do it together, whether we need to be in front of the computer or whatever the case may be. So, but I agree. There's even a woman who creates these notebooks that you can get on Amazon. They're so fantastic, various different subjects, and one of them is a notebook for this. Um, the maker is called School Nest, and you can find her on Instagram under School Nest. I think her name is Megan, and we have a ton of their notebooks, but I have yet to get this one, and I'm trying to hold off because I feel like I don't need all the things. But this is definitely one of the ones where it seems fun, and I can see the value in kind of filling it out all together,
Yeah.
and then having this like memory book of all the questions that like these big
Mm.
questions that your kids asked. Like the other night, my youngest was in bed at 8:45, should have been asleep already, and she's like, "How do we breathe?" And I was
Oh,
like, "Oh, honey, that is not something we're getting into right now. Save the questions for the morning." So, yeah,
have a
but
good delay.
definitely, yeah,
Have a good time
yeah,
delay tactics. They've got to get them in, haven't they?
I know. And that's the thing. So, I don't want to squash the question,
Mm.
but I am also not feeding into that. So, it's okay. I'm putting it in my phone and we will answer that question in the morning.
Also, I mean, let's face it, some questions have got like you need some pictures, or you need some diagrams, or you need to show them a video,
Absolutely.
or like it's
Yeah.
not always as simple as simply answering it. And I think yeah,
Yeah.
it's just fun, isn't it, when you get to have these conversations with them and like I've always had the policy of trying to be as honest as I can in an age appropriate way for every question they
Yeah.
ask me. Um and I can remember having like an in-depth conversation with my son in hospital. He had to have surgery earlier this year. And he's nearly 8 now, so sort of 7.5 at the time. And he wanted to understand what was going to happen when he went down to the theatre. And I thought, it's so amazing to have a child who is sure enough of themselves and wants to understand the world around them and is just curious and wants to get it. And yeah, okay, the answer is a little scary, but also knowledge helps to squash fear. Um,
Yes.
he actually kind of asking the questions and getting an honest answer in a really calm, like you're totally safe,
Hmm.
everything's going to be wonderful, you've got loads of people who'll be taking care of you, kind of way, actually helped him to process and understand what was going to happen. And actually, he has come away from it. Like he said to me the other day, um, I think it's told him about being careful because otherwise he'll end up back in hospital, treating surgery on something else. And he goes, it's okay. It's kind of exciting. And I was just like, I love that you have been through something which, for most, is reasonably traumatic, and you've actually come away from it with oh, that was kind of exciting. I kind of liked all the attention kind of way. And I think it's lovely when, I don't know, just it's just random stuff, isn't it? Like experiencing life in an unhurried, curious way means that we actually get to process some fear. We get to ask our questions. We get to
Yeah.
think and be present in our thoughts in our day and actually be able to deal with things as they happen and as they come up. And I think going off on a bit of a tangent now, really, aren't we? But this that kind of concept of following their lead, I think if we are listening to what they've got to say and we're hearing their questions, but even if we're not getting questions, then I guess it's now sort of shifting slightly onto just observation. So just
Hmm.
noticing, I guess, what are they doing? Like, what do they seem to like playing with? What do they spend hours
Yeah.
doing? Like, what do they often talk to you about? What are they interested in? What do they watch on TV when they go and watch the telly? Like, there's a bunch of different things that sometimes, I mean, I know I'm definitely guilty of this. Like, my son watches YouTube for like the Minecraft YouTubers and stuff because he
Yeah.
loves learning new tricks.
Yeah.
I cannot
Yeah.
stand those videos. They are so loud and so irritating to listen to. And they're clearly obviously aimed at children, like they just draw them in.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, I can't tolerate them. But he learns some incredible things from them. And then he's
Yeah.
like whizzing around in Minecraft making this like security house, and I can't keep up. And then he keeps blowing me up with TNT because I can't get into it now because he's made it so sophisticated that I can't figure out how to get in there. And so as much as like I try and like I will play Minecraft with him, he gives me a YouTube monologue whilst we watch it anyway, because clearly that's what he's witnessed people do when they're playing Minecraft, is give you a constant
Yeah.
monologue of what they're doing.
Yes, right?
I get that, which is great. Um, but in doing so, as frustrating as that is, he's telling me tips and tricks and sharing his wisdom with me and his fascination with
Yeah.
me and his passion and like, oh my goodness, the things he has learned about geology and redstone is essentially like electric circuits. And so like levers and buttons and like false floors and like all these amazing things that he's creating. I'm just like, you are so clever and you are taking in so much information. And if I
Yeah.
follow his lead and we play in it and we do other random things in it and we build roller coasters and we build really cool castles and we do all kinds of interesting stuff, there's symmetry and there is geology, there's the understanding of rocks and matter and how things work together. And like there's
Yeah.
all kinds of science to it. But it also it's teamwork, it's communication, it's social skills, it's planning, it's just all kinds of
Yeah.
stuff. Like it's so clever. And I think if you just witness what they're doing, watch them, listen to them. Really, like I know we're very busy people, and I get that I'm guilty of this all the time. We get lost in our stuff that we're dealing with in our own heads and we're trying to focus on and deal with. But if you just give it like
Yeah.
10 minutes here and there to just watch them and just see what they're doing, and it helps to guide you as to
Yeah.
what else to do. Like, what else can I do with them? Like, how could I use what they already love to help them
Yeah.
do the things that I really feel like it's important for us to have covered off? Or, and it's, yeah, following their lead in that way is really special. And it shows them that you care. It shows them that you actually are aware of what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think one of the things that I heard a while back that really stuck with me when we think about, our kids being like, you're saying your oldest is really into Minecraft. And, I have a daughter that will read every book about horses and dogs and then plays with them and then draws them and colors them and paints them and create. I mean, just it is absolutely an obsession right now. And what's so cool about that, though, is when I heard that children that don't have that kind of interest in one particular thing in the way that it becomes like a very strong interest that they could spend a lot of time focusing on it, allowing them to go down that path and really develop that interest. It happens a lot with kids with like dinosaurs, right? You find the kids that I just think that's one of the big ones that span a lot of different children. A lot of kids love dinosaurs or trucks. And so allowing them to really develop that interest and to become absorbed in it is actually super important in their development because it allows them to focus and concentrate better on projects or work or things that they're doing for their job later in life. And
Mm,
children that didn't have that ability, like their parents, like, stop reading about dinosaurs and do this or whatever that might look like in a particular family, or when you overload them with activities and they never have the time to really dive into something or spend an hour reading in their room or playing with Lego or whatever that particular interest is for them, they later in life can have difficulty spending an hour doing a project for their job. And so I think that not only are their interests very important just for who they are and kind of honoring that in your children, but it
Mm.
also actually does impact their ability to perform later in life, depending on, whatever job they might be doing. So I think that's just really interesting. It kind of gives you the freedom or like the permission to say, okay, we are going to spend some time on it. If this is what you want 5 more dinosaur books at the library, you get 5 more dinosaur books at the library. Like we are just slowly making our way through all the snake and horse books at our libraries. And then they want to check them out again. Great, let's check them out
Um,
again,
yeah.
So I think it just lets you say, okay, we don't have to read all the other books too. Like you can just do this.
Mm. And I think we maybe don't realize as well. I mean, I think in our society we can get quite judgmental even about people who have these special interests. Like we will mock
Yeah.
people, for example, who are like, I don't know, like train watchers or are like obsessed
Yeah.
with kind of going and doing loads of bird watching all the time. It's just like we tend to refer to them in a derogatory way. And so that can actually feel quite scary. So I was thinking as I was listening to you, then I was thinking it's interesting how it can actually make us worry. It's like, oh no, but if they're only going to focus on this, then how am I
Yeah.
ever going to help them to have a broad education? Or maybe it makes you think that they're going to be considered to be a bit weird or a bit eccentric or whatever. And obviously, weird is a word that I'm totally reclaiming. Like, weird is good.
Mhm.
Like, we should be different. Like,
Yeah.
we're not supposed to be the same as each other. And actually, I
Yeah.
think more of us than we realize would have had these special interests if we'd been given the time.
Yeah.
And we would have had these like fascinations and specialisms. And actually, those fascinations might have led us to careers or opportunities and hobbies that actually would have made us feel so fulfilled as human beings. I know that since I've started home educating, I have just developed the most insane amount of hobbies. Some of them are short-lived, some of them have gone on for a while. Like things like actually listening to the birds. Like we got an app, we recommended
Hmm.
the Merlin Bird ID app. We went up to
Yeah.
the beach in Dorset, and this lovely lady, as we were just checking in and paying the parking, my son commented to her out the window about how many lovely birds were singing. So as a bird feeders hanging nearby, and she goes, "Oh, I know, it's wonderful, isn't it?" She goes, "I put those there." She goes, "I'm stood here all day, and I love seeing them. I'm like massively into birds." And she goes, "So in the quiet moments when nobody's here, I get to just admire them and look at what they are." And she pointed out what a few of them were. And she told us about this app, and she goes, "It's free, download it, and then you can listen. And you just press record on it, and it listens for you, and it tells you what you're hearing. And I can now pick
Yeah.
out a robin and a magpie and a bluetit and a sparrow, and I know what they all sound like now. I can actually listen to birdsong and go, oh, what that is." Even to the point we sat around the fire camping on a lovely homemade trip together, and we actually heard um, a nightingale, and it was just like, we're right. You're actually doing that. Like, that's so really cool. Like, that's so amazing. I never would have
Yeah.
even known what it was. Like, I wouldn't have known that that was cool, that that was exciting. And I
Yeah.
think that I have realized that having these special interests really make you feel good. They make you feel really excited and
Hey.
happy.
Yeah.
And I think we're allowed to have these moments and we're allowed to just really get engrossed in them. And it's, as you say, it's not that they literally will
Hmm.
never do anything else ever, um, but it is that they will use those skills to build all the skills that we're worried about that will help them to read. Like my son did not want to read Biff and Chip books. He did
Yeah.
want to read dinosaur books. He really
Same.
wanted to read those dinosaur names. And I was listening to him the other day. He can read now, but he was going through this dinosaur book and actually working out the dinosaur names and saying them. And I was looking over his shoulder and being like, yeah, it's really like, my goodness.
Yeah.
Like you're
That's great. Good phonics.
it's really good for like decoding the words and figuring out how they might go together 'cause it's a real tongue twister half the time. And I just
Yeah.
absolutely blown away by it. And I think it can feel really scary when they're not interested in something that you think is really important and you want
Yeah.
them to focus on that. And yes, you can find ways of blending their interests into it, but also it's kind of having some trust that, as you said earlier, they will learn to type, they will learn to search, they will learn to read, they will
Yeah.
learn to, like, because they want to understand more about this topic. So they are motivated to learn to read because they want to read the books on it. Or, you know what I mean? Like, there's
Yeah.
things that will inspire them to pick up the skills that you are worrying about because it actually feels very relevant and very important to them to get that information in their heads. Like my
Yeah.
son really did start to read because he was getting mad at me because he wanted to read this book in the car. Um,
And you can't read while you're driving.
and so he actually started properly having a go. It's the first time I heard him read a whole sentence was because I was in the car and he wanted to know what it said. And so he did it. He figured it out. And I was just like doing a little internal jig because he actually felt motivated to do it himself. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think it can be really tricky. And I get that obviously we're talking from the perspective of obviously having kids who are somewhat intrinsically motivated and do have their special interests. And I guess if you're sat there with your kids and it seems like they don't have any, then have a look. It doesn't necessarily have to be a specific topic or an animal or a thing. It can just be that they love building Lego or that they love playing a certain
Yeah.
game or that they really
Yeah.
love running and climbing in trees. Like it doesn't matter what it is. It if they enjoy doing it, even if it's only partly, like you notice that they sometimes really enjoy doing this or they sometimes really enjoy doing that. Like it doesn't have to be anything specific. Just kind of notice whatever they're into. And try and let them do that as often as you can, but also see what you can do with it, see how else you can utilize that to help them meet their goals and what they're trying to work towards, and just ask them, care about what they want to do. Like, would they like to go and handle a snake? Would they like to go and look at a reptile shop? Would they like to, you know what I mean? Like, would you like to
Yeah.
do these things? Because I can help organize them for you. Like, shall we make them happen? And that makes them feel so special and so seen. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just amazing. It's so much fun doing that with them, and it helps to inspire you too. It really has me anyway.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think one of the really exciting things about home educating your kids is that you kind of get to reclaim your education as well, and maybe spend some time on things that you didn't when you were in school or that you don't remember learning about because you
Yeah.
just learned it to pass a test and it wasn't anything that was
Hmm.
important to you at the time. So
Yeah.
I think that's really fun and definitely kind of a underlying benefit to home education is you just get to do it yourself too, along with them.
Yeah, you do. And I think I definitely felt coming out of school like I was running. I was so done with like
Yeah.
being forced to learn anything, I guess, and ran away from education for a while. And I definitely feel like having my kids has really helped me, and obviously getting into home education especially has definitely helped me to realize that learning is supposed to be fun, and it is fun and I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And actually there's a lot more still to learn and there's always something new to sink my teeth into, and that's just been so wonderful. I'm so grateful for it, really. um
Yeah, me
but I
too.
hope that, yeah, it's just the best, isn't it? But I hope
Yeah.
that this has helped, guys, and I hope that you're kind of listening to this and thinking about kind of actually what you'd love to reclaim, and maybe if there's any hobbies or any interests of yours that you're maybe not focusing on right now. So please do think about whether or not there's actually anything that you would love to be doing more of. Um, anyway, I hope that's kind of given you some insight into kind of how easy it can be truly to
Hmm.
follow your kid's lead and to kind of just trust, as I said, like the phrasing of trust the process. The process isn't always like perfect and it doesn't always go crystal clear and easy along the way. So don't get me wrong, like there are challenges to this, but ultimately, the more you lean into letting them be interested in what they're interested in and build the skills that matter to them, the more you will see them build relevant, interesting hobbies, knowledge, wisdom, and
Yeah.
skills, and eventually careers. Um, because they will have stuff that they know an awful lot about and that they can actually utilize for some purpose down the line. So trust them that they will get somewhere, but don't leave it all up to
Yeah.
them. You're allowed to help and you're allowed to inspire and encourage and just support them along. Like you are definitely still there to facilitate and to help them to get new ideas and to build on what they're trying to do. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think that pretty much sums us up for today. But I wanted to say to you guys, obviously, do remember that we've got sort of episodes coming out every Sunday. So do make sure you sort of subscribed. Drop us a rating if you've enjoyed this episode. Please, please, please do make sure you pop your feelings down on a review or just click the ratings button because it really helps other people to find us. And feel free to share away as well. You can, of course, follow us over on Instagram and on TikTok. I always make sure that um what are they called? The tag things. Ask me whatever goes happening thing is in the description for the episode. So feel free to go on there and grab our signs and go find us. And send us a message. Tell us what you think. Tell us like what it's
Yeah.
made you think about because we'd love to hear from more of our listeners. But we're really, really excited that you guys are here and you're listening to us. And yeah, we'll be back again next week. Right, guys.
Can't
Have a
wait.
good one.
Bye.